The very things we use every day to make life easier are often the result of ingenious design, brilliant engineering and advances in science. A remarkable secret life just waiting to be discovered. Meet Richard Ambrose and Johnny Phillips. They're industrial scientists, fascinated by the commonplace objects all around us. Join them on their mission to unearth the surprising stories behind the things we take for granted. In this edition, glass. Can an opera singer's high note really shatter lead crystal? Impact testing glass to the max.
OK, John.
And putting bulletproof glass through its paces. Also, meet Sid, the computer-controlled mannequin who's set alight daily to test the flammability of clothing. The secrets that lie beneath escalators. And what's inside a snooker ball.
Glass is everywhere. We drink from it, we eat off it, we build with it. It keeps the weather out and it lets the sunshine in. It's used in cars, trains, boats and planes. Glass is a critical component in satellites, computers and TVs. It can protect us from radiation, fire and even bullets. Glass is a modern-day wonder material and our need for it has never been greater. Last year, the world's glass production topped 20 billion square feet.
So, what's the secret of glass? Well, the most important ingredient is silica, which is found in sand.
Now, you can make high-quality glass using silica alone, but it requires incredible temperatures. We're talking volcanic heat.
Around 1,700 degrees Celsius, in fact. And for the ancients, generating such temperatures was virtually impossible.
The solution is to add soda ash or sodium carbonate to the silica, which reduces its melting point to a much more manageable 850 degrees centigrade. The problem, however, with glass made like this is that it's water-soluble, which is about as useful as a chocolate teacup. Watch this.
Almost immediately, tiny scales of glass start to appear, and the water takes on a distinctively cloudy appearance as the glass begins to break down. And, given enough time, around 24 hours in this case, it would disappear completely. So, what keeps glass from dissolving in water? Our third and final ingredient is lime, derived from limestone.
And that's it. It really is that simple. 3 basic ingredients.
The discovery of how to blow glass, made by the Syrians in around the 1st century BC, was a huge breakthrough. Overnight, glass became a mass-produced product with 1,001 practical uses. So, how easy is it to blow glass? Well, typically it takes 10 years of training to become a master glass maker, like Tina Dahl, and she's very kindly offered to pass on some of her hard-earned knowledge of the ancient art of glass blowing to Richard.
Right, so we've got a bubble.
Yep.
And we're just going to allow it to cool down. If this is too hot, it just wobbles about and you end up with glass like that.
I'm with you. And what are the tricks?
To start off nice and slow.
Yeah.
And to also learn how the glass wants to move. You can't really go into it and say, well, I want it to be this shape and I'm going to force you into that shape. It's liquid and it's almost alive.
So the glass is boss all the time?
Yeah, oh, the glass is boss, yeah.
The trouble is, you can only work the glass for a few minutes at a time before you have to pop it back in the glory hole to heat it up some more.
How do you think things are going at the moment?
You're doing well.
Yeah?
Get it on centre.
It's Johnny's birthday soon, so what is it I'm making here?
Whiskey glass.
Oh, is it? Oh, great. You'll like that.
Allowing for cooling time is vital. Any less than 12 hours and the glass could shatter.
That's it.
There's Johnny's whiskey glass. He'll be delighted with that.
One of the most important breakthroughs in the history of glass was made by the Venetians in the 15th century. By making glass, not from sand, but from silica derived from the purest white quartz pebbles, they found they could produce clear glass which was totally colourless. They called this new glass Cristallo, and it was the first time anyone had made totally clear, colourless glass. The next big development was made by an Englishman called George Ravenscroft in 1676. He perfected a formula for colourless lead crystal glass, which was made by adding lead oxide. Lead crystal is great for engraving. It has fantastic prismatic qualities, which is what makes it so good for chandeliers. Still to come, we find out how modern glass is made on an industrial scale. And it's not over until the fat lady sings. We explode a few myths about wine glasses and opera singers. Meet Sid. He's got one of the hottest testing jobs around. He's the dummy that stands in the middle of a raging inferno to test fireproof clothing. The kind of outfits worn by workers exposed to the extreme temperatures generated by industrial kilns. Sid's been created by technicians at Sartre, and Dave McCowan is his minder. Before any test, he must dress Sid. Like any self-respecting mannequin, Sid likes his bits to be covered, and putting him in a vest and pants makes the test more realistic.
I'm not sure whether the vest should be inside or outside the underwear. I'm not going to worry about that.
Sid is made of fire-retardant fiberglass. He's painted black so that his surface absorbs any heat. Tiny sensors cover his body, and they record the temperature and transmit it to a computer 10 times per second. Sid is surrounded by 16 propane burners that can blast out flames at a staggering 1,000 degrees Celsius. That's as hot as lava from an erupting volcano. And it can easily kill a person. So Sid is left to face the flames on his own.
Three, two, one.
Cooling off time. Sid's still smoking, but has he been burnt? What results have come back from the heat sensors?
In total, only 9 sensors showed first-degree burns, 9 showed second-degree burns, and only 6 showed third-degree burns.
This means that in a real fire, the suit would have protected someone from severe burns and enabled them to escape. Sid survived another flame grilling, and he's ready for more. Burn, baby, burn.
This is my favourite part of the show because I get to cut things up to show you what's inside them. This time, it's a snooker ball. The game of snooker, a spin-off from English billiards, was invented in 1875 by a British Army colonel stationed in India. Now, it's a worldwide phenomenon. But what's inside the highly polished ball? This ball weighs around 128 grams. When it's struck during a match, it can accelerate from 0 to 30 kilometres an hour in just a fraction of a second.
Wow, that is good cutting. It's solid. It's just the same material all the way through by the look of it.
The ball is made of just one material, phenolic resin, a rugged plastic also found in some car brake pads. The material is so tough, the ball can withstand 5 tons of pressure. More grinder action next time. I can't wait.
Still to come, can an opera singer at full throttle shatter a glass? Revealing the moving story behind escalators. And is bulletproof glass really bulletproof? Earlier, we found out how Venetians perfected clear glass and how Englishman George Ravenscroft lit up the 17th century with lead crystal.
Now, one way of spotting high-quality lead crystal glass is to give it a ping. And if it's good, it should produce a lovely clear note. Now, compare that to ordinary glass, and you can really hear the difference. However, it's the way that the lead crystal glass resonates that makes it more vulnerable to death by opera singer.
Lead glass resonates or vibrates more than normal glass because it's softer. The theory is, if you can exactly match its natural resonance, and with enough volume, the energy from the sound wave created by the human voice can cause the structure of the glass to literally vibrate to pieces. We've recruited singer Claire Noakes to test the theory.
And now we're going to put theory into practice, and Claire is going to attempt to shatter this glass using her voice alone. It's a combination of exactly the right frequency and a great deal of volume. So, you ready, Claire?
Yep.
Unfortunately, we seem to have got you the heaviest lead crystal glass in the world.
Well, I'll see what I can do.
OK, do your best. This is your note. Do you want to have another go?
I'll have another go.
OK, I'll give you your note again. It was definitely singing back that time.
Yeah.
OK, third time lucky, and this time I'm going to try and give you some
Fine,
help. I'm going to
okay.
join in, OK?
Yep.
Right, let's go.
So, what went wrong? Well, despite what you've been led to believe, it is impossible for a singer to break a modern glass. It simply can't be done. Modern wine glasses are just too well made. For this experiment to succeed, the glass really needs to be damaged or flawed in some way, and then it is possible to bust one apart. One of the biggest breakthroughs in glassmaking in modern times was the development of a perfectly flat kind of sheet glass called float glass. This revolutionised the glass industry by allowing, for the first time, the mass production of high-quality, perfectly flat sheet glass on a truly epic scale.
This UK plant alone produces 10,500 tonnes per week. It's enormous.
The line runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it is never switched off. It will run for at least 10 years before being ripped apart and rebuilt. And amazingly, this whole operation is overseen by just a few people. The process begins at the hot end, where raw ingredients are shoved into the furnace, which burns at temperatures of over 1,500 degrees Celsius. Once the glass has been formed, it's then stirred before being moved on to the next part of the operation.
OK, I don't know if you can see this, but this is where the float process starts. The liquid glass is tipped onto a bath of molten tin, and at this point the temperature's still in excess of 1,000 degrees centigrade.
This is what makes float glass so perfectly flat. The liquid glass literally floats on a river of molten tin. And what you're seeing here is a perfect reflection of the heaters in the ceiling, because at this point in the operation, the tin-backed glass behaves like one giant mirror. Once floated, the glass is lifted off the tin. At this stage, it's still relatively weak, and it needs to be carefully cooled before it's ready to be cut and handled.
Having emerged from the inferno, this is the final product.
It's an endless ribbon of perfect flat glass, and it's off to be cut to size and packed.
And even here, the machines still rule. Diamond-tipped, computer-controlled cutters slice the glass into sheets, and then robot suckers lift the sheets off the line and place them into neat stacks. But this isn't the end of the story. These uniform sheets will eventually be sent out to secondary glass producers who will cut and mould the glass into everything from double glazing to car windscreens. Still to come, we find out how the professionals test glass, and we bring out the big guns to do our own extreme glass testing.
If you ever fancy swapping your stairs for an escalator, then one like this will set you back £50,000. But once installed, it will carry 150 people per minute. That's 9,000 every hour and 216,000 in a day. It's the best people-moving device we have, and its design has changed little since its invention in the 19th century. In the late Victorian era, American inventor N.G.C. was the first to see its potential. In 1896, he displayed a moving walkway at Coney Island, and though it was just an inclined slope without any steps, 75,000 people came to ride on it. A few years later, the idea was further developed and the modern escalator was born. Here's how it works, and it's really quite simple. An electric motor powers a large drive wheel at the top of the escalator, which pulls the steps round. When they get to the bottom, a smaller wheel returns the steps so they're continuously going in a loop. All the steps have rollers which ride along a tracking system, and the clever bit is that at the top and the bottom, this track levels out, pulling the steps flat and making the escalator easy to get on and off. The name escalator comes by merging the words elevator and scala, which is Latin for steps. An escalator is known in some circles as a comic book featuring tales of alien pornography. How bizarre! The more common escalators aren't involved in alien porn, but they have to be regularly serviced, which includes a good bit of hoovering, oiling and disassembling for routine inspection. Pull it out and then it twists out through that gap. There you go. Very rarely steps have failed and people have fallen into the machinery, which is pretty gruesome and gives rise to escalator phobia. One of the biggest fears is that your scarf or shoelaces will get caught and you'll get sucked into the machine. This combed arrangement is designed to make it impossible for something to be dragged inside the mechanism. It's a physical barrier which deflects items over it. But if this safety device fails and something gets dragged inside, the escalator is designed to automatically stop. It was precisely this sort of fear that gave an Edwardian chap called Bumper Harris his job. When the first escalators were installed on the London Underground, Bumper was paid 4p a day to ride them. He only had one leg, so the theory was that if people saw him using them, they'd feel safe to have a go as well. The world's record for going up and down escalators is 7 days non-stop, which equals 140 miles. The same man who completed this feat also has a world record for ironing. The longest single-span escalator is in the Washington Metro, and it's 155 metres long, which is nearly double the wingspan of the world's largest aeroplane. The smallest is in Japan and is 83.4 centimetres high, which is smaller than your average 10-year-old. The optimum slant for an escalator is 30 degrees, but the best thing about them is that if they stop working, they simply convert to stairs, which is why it will take something special to get rid of the millions of escalators that link our world.
Soap has been around since 2800 BC, and billions of us use it every day to get ourselves clean.
So what is it that makes soap so soapy?
It's the amount of sodium palmate and sodium palm kernelate in these little noodles which determine how much of a big bubbly lather you get yourself into. But how do they end up as bars of soap? A batch of soap noodles is weighed and poured into a mixing machine. Titanium dioxide is added to make the soap white, and then in go some antioxidant oils which help prolong the life of the soap, and finally in goes that all-important fragrance. Once the mixture is all evenly blended and the noodles are coated, they're tipped into a milling machine where they get flattened and turned into soap flakes, which are just 0.7 millimetres thick. These flakes fall out of the other side and make their way up a conveyor belt into a plodding machine, where they fall into a big hole and get heated up and melted together. The end product is one long continuous bar of soap. This gets cut into 9-inch long billets, which make their way towards the stamping and moulding machine. This is where the billets of soap get turned into bars, getting stamped and cut to the correct shape and size. The excess soap is recycled and makes its way back into the plodding machine and goes through the whole process again to ensure that no soap noodle is left unused. The soaps are hand-checked and sent packing. And now back to glass. Time to see how the professionals test it, because it's all well and good building a world of glass, but it's another thing making it safe.
Now that was the equivalent of a child running full tilt into standard glass.
For many domestic and commercial applications, standard glass is totally unsuitable. Fortunately, there are alternatives. Toughened glass is typically 4 to 6 times stronger than ordinary glass. This strengthening takes place at the manufacturing stage, when the glass is reheated to over 600 degrees Celsius before being rapidly cooled. This process changes the basic structure of the glass, which not only makes it stronger, but also makes it safer. So far, the 50-kilogram weight used earlier has been deflected by the toughened glass. Time to release it from double its original height.
3, 2, 1... Not only was this glass so much tougher to break, it shattered into tiny pieces, and that's so much safer than standard glass.
So that's super tough glass. But what about the latest types of high-tech laminated glass?
This is one of my favourite bits of modern glass technology fitted into this door. It's electrochromic glass, and by passing a small current through the liquid crystal layer, it changes the glass from opaque to transparent. There's Johnny! Another type of laminated glass is this, and it's fire-resistant glass. It contains a layer of sodium silicate, which under thermal stress turns opaque, reflecting heat away from the glass and maintaining the integrity of the window. Now let's see how it works.
As the oven heats up, the outer layer of the laminated glass begins to crack. This exposes an inner layer of sodium silicate, which quickly turns opaque, reflecting the searing heat back into the oven. The high water content of the sodium silicate also helps prevent heat transfer to the outer side of the glass.
It's over 550 degrees in here now, and I can still hold my hand. I can touch the glass. That's incredible. It's just warm.
This amazing ability to limit heat transfer could make all the difference in a real-life situation. In this controlled experiment, with temperatures eventually rising to in excess of 900 degrees Celsius, it still takes over 40 minutes before the glass finally fails. No wonder they use it in fire doors. Another impressive type of glass is armoured or bulletproof glass. But just how bulletproof is bulletproof glass? For this experiment, we've recruited the help of gun expert John Spinks. Plus a whole crate of VIMs, or very important melons. Well, you need a target.
First up, normal glass.
OK, John?
Not surprisingly, standard glass provides little protection against John's shotgun. The pane and our melon are totally destroyed. Standard laminated glass, the type found in car windshields, fares little better. The laminated layer does keep the screen in one piece, but it doesn't stop the pellets. And once again, the melon's in bits. This bullet-resistant glass is 2.2 centimetres thick, and it's the type of glass used in executive motors. And this time, because of the danger of ricochet, John's taking the extra precaution of firing from behind a shield. The glass is made up of multiple layers of polycarbonate plastic, which is sandwiched between standard layers of glass. As the pellets hit the glass, they easily penetrate the outer layer, but the polycarbonate quickly absorbs the shot's energy, and this time our melon survives.
Whoa! Wow, it hasn't even cracked it.
No, not even close. It's just tickled it, hasn't it?
Bulletproof glass, it works, man. That's
Certainly does.
Join Richard and Johnny next time for more stories behind everyday objects.
One gentleman and one man was an American inventor.
Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, and cut there.